In this lecture, we'll be taking a look at the rise of the Kingdom of Ancient Ghana and the emergence of the Ghana Empire. Despite the name, Ancient Ghana is not related to the modern nation of Ghana. The name Ghana comes from a word meaning ruler, and it originally referred to the domains of the emperor. The Ghana Empire at its peak was a major player in a vast trade network that extended from the Mediterranean basin to Central Asia as well as to Southern Africa. With its massive army, the Ghana Empire was among the most powerful nation-states on the planet by the 11th century. Much of what we know about ancient Ghana comes from external sources, especially Islamic travelers and merchants. Early in the history of Ghana, there does not appear to have been a written script, and later, Arabic became the written language of government and trade. The Kingdom of Ghana may have existed as early as the 5th century CE. Some archaeologists suggest it may even be a century before that. However, it was not until the 8th century CE that Ghana emerged in the historical records and began to appear in Islamic sources. After about 500 CE, camels replaced horses and donkeys in transport in the trans-Saharan trade. The adoption of the camel was integral to the rise of Ghana. Camels quickened the pace of communication across the Sahara, since they could travel much farther than horses or donkeys, and camels have a much greater ability to adapt to harsh climates. They're also much bigger, and they can carry a lot more weight. Islamic merchants crossed the Sahara Desert to trade in West Africa for certain products. Trade networks with sub-Saharan West Africa were well entrenched by the 8th century. The dominant ethnic group of the Ghana Kingdom and later Ghana Empire were the Soninke, S-O-N-I-N-K-E, and they were the first in the region to develop iron technology and used it in part to subjugate their neighbors with superior weaponry. The majority of people in the kingdom and eventual empire of Ghana were farmers, but the primary reason for Ghana's growth was the gold trade. Trans-Saharan trade with Ghana was very important for many people in the Mediterranean, Southern Africa, and again as far as Central Asia, east. The Kingdom of Ghana controlled the gold mines in the region. They also had an exclusive trade network with nomadic traders for salt, a highly prized commodity. They provided gold, ivory, and slaves to traders from the north, and they were desirous of horses, textiles, and manufactured goods from the north and from the east. This region became the most important commercial area in West Africa. A divine right monarchy appears to have been the political structure. They were assisted by a hereditary aristocracy. This was a matrilineal succession system, though, so the son of the mother would then be in line to be the king. It appears that the kings of Ghana did not convert to Islam, but many subjects did. The kings maintained an army of, at its peak, about 200,000 warriors. This enabled the emperors of Ghana to force other regional kings and chiefs to pay tribute, which of course increased imperial wealth and strengthened their army and ability to fund the army. The central core region of the former state of Ouagadougou, now this is spelled several ways. It could be W-A-G-A-D-O-U. Sometimes it's Ouagadougou, so O-U-A-D-A, excuse me, Ouaga, O-U-A-G-A-D-O-U, Ouagadougou, was surrounded by these vassal states, or states that paid tribute to the king of Ghana. Demand for gold, as indicated on the slide, was very integral to the rise of Ghana. It was sought by Europeans, highly prized. It was highly prized in the Islamic world, which is not to say that it wasn't highly prized in West Africa, but it was a commodity that was not as scarce. So, it was used for ornamentation. It was prized for its value in trade, but when you have a lot of a given commodity, you're perhaps less desirous of having more of it. The towns and trading posts of Ghana served as midpoints between the Berber and Arab traders in the north and the gold and ivory merchants in the south. So they were very well positioned. It was this middle position that enhanced the power and wealth of the kings of Ghana. This map shows the trade routes and the trans-Saharan trade networks, at least in West Africa, and the location of the major gold fields of Western Africa in the first half of the second millennium. The center of the Ghana Empire was the capital city of Koumbi-Saleh. This may be spelled differently in your textbook. Sometimes it's spelled K-U-M-B-I, sometimes it's K-H-U-M-B-I. It was actually two cities, roughly 6 miles apart, with a continuous habitation between them. It reminds me in a way of Dallas-Fort Worth, if you think about how that is set up with these two major cities and population in between them. One town served as the Islamic area where Muslim traders and Islamic scholars lived. This area at one point boasted 12 mosques, according to sources from the time period. As long as Muslim traders followed the laws and paid taxes, they were permitted to live freely. The second half of Koumbi-Saleh contained the royal palace and the living quarters of those who served the king, as well as those who supervised the military and other government functions. Archaeologists and researchers have a variety of population estimates. I would recommend that the population was probably around 20,000 at its peak in Koumbi-Saleh, which is still, a very large city for this time period. There are some sources who argue that it couldn't have been more than 10,000 based on the water supply in the area, but water levels rise and fall, and I take issue with the estimates that suggest that are based on current water in the region. But either way, it was quite a large urban center. A number of competitors for the West African gold trade emerged in the 12th and 13th centuries CE. Gradually, the kings of Ghana began to lose control of what had previously been an almost total monopoly on West African gold. In addition, the cost of wars with Berbers from the north, along with the rapidly increasing costs of defending against northern invasions, put a significant drain on the economy of the Ghana Empire, and this further reduced the ability of the kings of Ghana to police the gold trade because they were tied up with military matters. Soil degradation appears to have played a role in the decline of Ghana. The empire straddled the Sahara and Sahel. If you think back to our previous discussions in earlier lectures, the Sahel being the semi-arid region just south of the Sahara. The expansion of the Sahara and the Sahel likely reduced the available land upon which crops could be grown and livestock could be grazed. It also appears that some natural water aquifers dried up or provided reduced outflow in the 12th and 13th centuries CE. We also have to look at the rise of the Kingdom of Malinke, M-A-L-I-N-K-E, which is also discussed in the textbook, as a powerful regional competitor that weakened the Ghana Empire. I should point out too, the kings of Malinke also had a religious advantage, as these kings embraced Islam, and the imperial subjects of the Ghana Empire, whose kings, the Ghana kings, practiced traditional West African religions, began to be seen by peasants and urban dwellers as perhaps unworthy to lead the mostly Islamic populace. By the early 1200s, the Kingdom of Ghana was in a state of deterioration, and it rapidly fragmented into a collection of smaller West African kingdoms and chieftaincies. This draws to a close our brief examination of the Kingdom of Ancient Ghana and the Ghana Empire.